Hey guys, SK Twinz TV here with another recap show of the weekend's fights. UFC 214, Anaheim, California. And what an event it was. The long-awaited rematch between Johnny Bones Jones and Daniel Cormier. I've been waiting for this fight for the last 2 years, and it was supposed to happen in UFC 200, but unfortunately John Jones was unable to compete. He tested positive for steroids, or a banned substance. However, later on we found out that it was actually tainted supplements, and that was the reason John Jones was unable to fight that night. But we waited a long time. However, it was a long time to wait, but I mean, anybody who's seen that fight on the weekend, anybody, any corner of the world, I don't care where you are, if you've seen that fight, oh my god, you were treated to the highest level of mixed martial arts expression that's actually possible in this present time. There's no level higher than that. What John Jones and Daniel Cormier were showing on Saturday night in the cage was nothing short of legendary status. Those two are absolute legends of the sport, and they were displaying the highest level of combatant skill, heart, determination, focus, drive. They would need to win, and just in general taught us all a lesson of what it really takes to compete at that kind of level and to showcase your skills. And I must say, not just the main event, because it's quite unfair to just say that the main event was a great fight. Every fight on the card, now I'm saying every fight, from the early Fight Pass prelims to the FXX prelim card and through to the main card, every single fight was memorable. Every fighter came and showed how much they want to win, they want to be there, and displayed for us the sort of courage and heart that these people actually have, who are competing at the highest level of mixed martial arts today. The level has risen to it's gotten extremely high over the past couple of years, and every divisions that used to be so weak and now are they're just piled, and there's long queues of murderers, man, waiting for their shot, waiting for their chance to be seen. I mean, people like Volkan Oezdemir, where has he came from in this last while out? I think there's just so many great fighters on the card. Just want to give you a little list of my favourite fights of the night. Number one being Renato Moicano was fighting against Brian Ortega. Now, both these guys were coming in with big win streaks. Moicano was 10-1, Ortega 11-0. Both of them extremely high level in grappling and extremely versatile on their feet as well, mixing up their strikes, the punches and kicks, incorporating the grappling. Both these fighters were coming off some really impressive wins leading up to this point. Remarkable fight, excellent fight. Both guys were standing there toe to toe, bringing the action, pushing the pace, showing how much they actually want to win. And it resulted in Brian Ortega guillotining Moicano and finishing him off. But yeah, absolutely brilliant fight. Brilliant, and rightfully so, was given fight of the night. And I would completely agree with that. Both guys showcased a lot of skill, and Brian Ortega just seems to keep winning. He seems to be able to pull it out of the bag every time, and his hands are excellent. He's really good at mixing his kicks up with his strikes. And if anybody, he's not. The thing about Ortega now is he's at a stage where he's so comfortable on his feet and relaxed, where he's not bothered about getting taken down because he has a black belt on the ground in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And his attacking, he's so attacking off his back where he doesn't even waste a second. If you try to take him down, he will counter you instantly, like he did to Moicano there. Moicano changed levels and they went for a double leg takedown. Immediately. It was almost like Ortega was already 3 steps ahead, seen it coming, sinked in a guillotine in a microsecond, got it around the throat, and just choked him out, and he was forced to tap out. And it's just having that kind of awareness when you're deep in battle like that and you're taken down, just to have that kind of level. It just shows how high of a level he actually is on the ground with his jiu-jitsu. Because he trains with Henna Gracie and Hiron Gracie in LA. They run the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy, and Brian Ortega is one of their prodigies, if you like. He was coming off a fight of the night honors again when he beat Thiago Tavares. He triangled Diego Brandao in the third round. He KO'd Clay Guida in the third round as well with a knee. And Mike De La Torres, he actually rear naked choked him in the first round as well. However, that fight was overturned because Ortega was suspended in a post-fight drug test. They found a banned substance in his system. But yeah, he's on to bigger and better things. Moicano as well will undoubtedly be still getting big fights and being pushed because the kind of heart he's showing as well. These are the type of fighters that the UFC should really get behind and try and push and promote these guys and try and get their name out there, because these are the guys who are really putting it out there. Another great performance was from Aljamain Sterling. He was fighting against Renan Barão, ranked number 13, Sterling ranked number 17. The Funk Master, 27 years old. Now they had to have this fight at a catch weight at 140 pounds, as the Athletic Commission they chose to put it as a catch weight as Renan Barão struggled to make weight in his last couple of fights. Aljo, training out of Ray Longo's camp, Sarah Longo camp in Long Island, New York. He was sitting at 13-2. He's only really lost a couple of bouts. The first one coming in with Brian Caraway, which he lost by split decision, and he also lost by split decision to Rafael Assunção. Two high-level opponents, veterans of the game who have been involved in the game for a long, long time. And Aljo's still really, really young. No, he's extremely young. He can submit you, he can wrestle you, he can strike. And in this fight, he was coming up against Renan Barão, the former bantamweight champion, who's defended the belt, who's been around for a long time. Who was a lot of new school MMA fans have probably forgotten about who Renan Barão actually is, as the UFC don't really push him anymore. However, before, when he was the bantamweight champion, he was absolutely undeniable, and he was a fighter that was pretty feared in the lower ranks, the lighter division. I beg your pardon. And it was a big test for Sterling, a big test for him to come up against a former champion, a guy who held the belt before, and really show that he has that maturity now. And from that Caraway fight, from the Assunção fight, he needed to be a little bit more mentally strong in there when he's coming up against another top 10 high level opponent in that division. And he really showed the maturity, training alongside guys like Chris Weidman. Obviously you've got Matt Serra teaching in there, who's a former UFC champion, beat GSP back in the day. You've got so many, Gene Valente, you've got all these great guys training there, really experienced guys. So Aljo's got a lot of people you can learn from, Ali Akinta trains there, who's also on a winning streak. So yeah, it's great to see younger fighters like that not getting disheartened after a couple of losses and going away, doing their homework, coming back, and getting a great win like that. So I was really impressed by that one, Aljo's performance, and I was really, really impressed with Brian Ortega. Now, we're just going to talk about the base pays of each fighter on the card from Saturday night. We're just going to begin with the main event, UFC 214, which was John Jones. He made a total of 500 grand in US dollars, no win bonus. Daniel Cormier's base pay was $100,000. However, it's disclosed now from MMA Junkie that Daniel Cormier walked away with $1 million that night, including all his pay from sponsorships, etc., etc. Not just his base pay. His base pay was just $100,000. Tyron Woodley made £500,000, no win bonus, dollars, I beg your pardon. He defeated Demian Maia. He was defending the welterweight crown. Demian Maia took home $110,000. And then we had Cyborg Santos versus Tonya Evinger. Cyborg took home $200,000. Evinger took home 100 grand. And we had Robbie Lawler versus Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Lawler took home 300,000 US dollars, including 100,000 win bonus. The defeated Donald Cerrone took home $155,000. Volkan Oezdemir versus Jimmy the Poster Boy Manuwa, 110,000, includes $30,000 for Oezdemir, who defeated Jimmy Manuwa, who took home $120,000 base pay. Ricardo Lamas, 106,000, including 53,000, including his win bonus, defeating Jason the Kid Knight, aka Hick Diaz, $31,000. Aljamain Sterling, $66,000, including a $33,000 win bonus, defeating the former bantamweight champion, the Nova União product, Renan Barão, $53,000. Brian Ortega, $52,000, including a $26,000 win bonus, defeating Ricardo Moicano, who took home $23,000, not including what he received for the fight of the night bonus. Then we move on to Calvin Kattar, the UFC debutant, 24, I beg your pardon, $1,000, including a £12,000 win bonus, defeating Andre Fili, who took home a base pay of $24,000. Alexandra Albu, $20,000, including $10,000 to win, so she had 10 and 10, defeating the Hawaiian Kylan Curran, who took home $20,000. Jared Brooks versus Eric Shelton. Jared Brooks took home 24,000, including 12,000 win bonus, and Eric Shelton took home 10,000 US dollars. And then we have the very first fight of the night on the early prelims, which was Drew Dober, who took home $44,000, including 22 grand, defeating Joshua Burkman, who took home 54,000 US dollars. So those were the base pays, not all the pays, including the sponsorships, etc. This is just the base pays of the night. just so you are aware. Now, we're going to talk about the main card fights now. We're going to start from the Johnny Bones Jones versus Daniel Cormier bout. Now, that was an exceptional fight. I mean, we waited so long for John Jones to come back. A lot of people were sort of worried just in case he is not going to be the same John Jones and he's going to be very rusty and you're going to see maybe a quarter of his game. As when he came back after all that time and fought OSP, it was a reserved kind of John Jones that we saw, and it seemed like he'd lost that killer instinct that he used to have, and he was sort of a timid version of Jones, just doing enough to win. Wasn't criticised because it was probably the worst John Jones performance he's ever had. However, he still completely dominated the fight. So it was a strange one. It was a strange one to sort of to pick your brain at, because even though it's his worst performance, he still dominated pillar to post, done anything he wanted to do, landed strikes at will. OSP couldn't even get close to John Jones. John Jones attributed a lot of that to do with the fact that he was focusing a lot on powerlifting at the time, and his endurance-based sort of training and fitness was sort of out of the window for that one, and he focused more on power. However, for this fight, his rematch against John Jones, against Daniel Cormier rather, was completely different. John Jones went back to his old method, endurance-based training, along with obviously the training Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn are giving him in their academy. Not to mention Izzy Martinez, Izzy style wrestling. John Jones is a big fan of his and trains with him a lot. So John Jones had all the right people with him this time. He had all the right people around him to keep him right, to keep his mind in check. There were a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions in this fight to be answered about John Jones. Will he come back the same? And let's just say he looked better than ever. He looked like he didn't even take one day off. And as soon as the fight began, it was very much like the first fight between DC and John Jones. DC pressing the pace, moving forward, trying to get in that pocket to land those shots. And one of those beautiful uppercuts and hooks that he landed many times in this fight, that in previous fights he's had a lot of success, i.e. against guys of the nature of Bigfoot Silva, who Daniel Cormier actually managed to knock out with that uppercut. Just pushing the pace. John Jones was doing the exact same thing as the last fight, keeping the distance, landing multiple body kicks, multiple front kicks, oblique kicks, punches and kicks, just not allowing DC to even get close enough. Just constantly working. Both fighters, as soon as the first bell went, it was go time, and both of them just showing what kind of level they're actually at. You have to give a round to DC. I'd probably give him the first round. Round number 2 was John Jones's. It was definitely a round apiece until it reached the third stanza, where Jones was really going to the body a lot and anticipating DC to dip his head as he constantly was doing. And that time in the third round where DC dipped his head again, and Jones just timed that high kick to perfection. He was baiting for for DC to move his head in that direction. That was planned by John Jones. This wasn't just a fluke. Him going for the third round, just going for a high kick and it landed. He was playing chess, and DC was playing checkers in this match. John Jones waited for that opportunity again, and when DC done it again in the third round, this time Jones was ready for the moment and proved why he is the greatest of all time, and he is absolutely unbeatable. Landing that beautiful high kick and then following up very Anderson Silva like, throwing fakes and feints, even throwing a flying knee as just moments before Daniel stumbled and fell on his back, and Jones from a standing position just landing, raining down heavy ground and pound, elbows and punches, forcing John McCarthy to step in and just stop the bout. Beautiful high kick for John Jones that landed flush. I have to say, the reason DC wasn't able to beat or come close to beating John Jones twice has to come down to the height discrepancy and the lack of footwork from DC. Because to be able to get in, and this is no respect to DC. DC fought an amazing fight. I'm just saying, those are the things that he never done as well. He still won a round in this fight. And anybody who can actually win a round against John Jones, that's an achievement. I don't care what anybody says. He is the greatest. So that was an absolutely excellent fight. Amazing fight. And John Jones never looked like he even skipped a beat. He looked like he never even took one day off. Incredible third round KO victory via head kick and strikes. So John Jones redeemed the title. Excellent match. He just leading up to this fight as well, he seemed like he really wanted to be there. He missed being there, he missed where he was, and he wanted to get it back after the fight. Also calling out Brock Lesnar. Now I think that's a brilliant next fight for John Jones. Seeing how he's defeated everybody, and it's a big fight for MMA, massive for the sport, huge financial gains for both guys. And I reckon the UFC is going to try and make this fight because it just attracts so many casual fans. And nowadays the UFC love the casual fans. For DC, it's a difficult situation. I mean, a lot of people are giving him stick for that, and I can't believe anybody would actually give a guy of DC's caliber, and not just in fighting, but the sort of character he has as a human being and as a father and as an athlete, as a role model. Anybody who makes fun of somebody like that has obviously never stepped into the cage, they've never fought in their life, never even trained correctly. They've probably never even sparred hard. It's just quite sickening, to be honest. The kind of stuff people say, highly disrespectful, even after John Jones has given him respect, because he knows in his heart that DC was an even fight there, leading up to that point. I'm not saying DC was 100% winning, but it was even. They had a round apiece. Where does DC go from here? I mean, in my eyes, he should keep fighting because, in my eyes, he's a legend. He's one of the best in the world. There's no reason why he should retire. He could still beat a lot of guys. There's barely anybody who could come even close to DC, even now, other than John Jones. So, I mean, there's not many guys he can fight because he's beaten the rest of them. But if he does retire, then he's had a great career. He's became the champion. He was a champion of Strikeforce. He was undefeated as a heavyweight, and he's done a lot for this game. He's done so much, and he was a lot older than everybody else as well when he got into the sport. So he has nothing to be ashamed of. Even if he continued fighting, great. If he doesn't, well, you're a legend, and you've done a lot for the sport, and you're a great role model, and DC should be given all the praise in the world, and he should be given analyst jobs or any kind of way they can keep a guy like that around. They should, because he's greatness. I don't care what any keyboard warrior says. That's just the facts. So we'll move on to the next. That was a remarkable fight, incredible fight. Now we'll move on to Jimmy the Poster Boy Manuwa versus Volkan Oezdemir. Now this was a very interesting fight as well. As Jimmy Manuwa was on a big win streak, and Volkan Oezdemir is also on a win streak. Very new. We've not heard much about Volkan. He's 14-1 coming into this bout. He's got a lot of experience in the Super Combat World Grand Prix for kickboxing. He competed in that in 2014. He has a 71 KO rate. He's from Switzerland and half Turkish. He's 5-0 as a kickboxer, and since he signed for the UFC, he has a decision win over OSP and a KO win over Misha Kurkinov, which was very impressive. Came in the first minute of the fight. Other than that, we didn't actually know or hear much about Volkan until this point. So coming into this bout, a lot of people would have thought Jimmy Manuwa would have delivered the goods. Me being one of them. Jimmy Manuwa, ranked number 3 in the light heavyweight division, was coming into this bout 17-2, 37 years of age with an 88% KO ratio. Crazy. Training out of Lions Pride Gym in London. Also trains at All Stars Training Center in Sweden, training with the likes of Alexander Gustafsson. He's also trained at Kettle's Gym in Kent in the past. He's had a performance of the night versus Corey Anderson, and he's also knocked out OSP. He also had fight of the night versus Alexander Gustafsson, which he got KO'd, but he showed so much in that bout. He's a guy that fights people and they can't even come back after the first round. I mean, Kyle Kingsbury, second round TKO, doctor stoppage. He couldn't continue because of his leg. Cyril Diabate, also after the first round, could not continue because his knee was buckled because of Jimmy Manuwa kicking his legs. And also Ryan Jimmel, via leg injury, was unable to continue. So Jimmy Manuwa is a guy who has vicious knockout power and scary stand-up, and was at a point leading up to this bout where he has all the confidence in the world now in his skills. He has all the momentum behind him. And in my eyes, it's unfortunate, however, because I'm a massive fan of Jimmy Manuwa, but it really seemed like he was overlooking Oezdemir a little bit, and he was looking too much ahead at a boxing bout with David Haye, which is excellent for him because you have to think about new ways of making money in the sport, and you can't just rely on whoever the UFC give you. However, I think his management should have been a little bit smarter and held off on the Volkan fight. I mean, I know he was there in a position where if John Jones was to pull out or DC was to pull out, it would have been Manuwa jumping in. However, it's just not smart to do against a guy who's completely unknown like Volkan, who just came into this bout. And I mean, they began fighting, and it was a serious gunfight from the first second. They're clinching up, they're battling, they're striking, they're combinations on each other, and they close up and they link up close to the cage. And Volkan's got his back to the fence. He's got one hand on Jimmy's head, and with his other hand, he's throwing uppercuts through the middle and hooks over the top. And he just lands one flush uppercut that just rocks Jimmy and sends him on his heels, treading backwards. Volkan follows up, chases him, lands a beautiful cross, times it to perfection. It just rocks Jimmy's head back, and it bounces off the canvas. And there's just one standing strike from there, and that was it. Jimmy couldn't continue. It was just an absolutely beautiful KO. Remarkable stuff from Volkan. Great stuff from both fighters. I mean, I know it ended in the beginning of the first round. However, they were both slinging. They were going for it. They wanted to win. Excellent KO victory for Volkan Oezdemir. The sky's the limit for this guy. God knows where he goes next. If John Jones doesn't fight Brock Lesnar, I'd probably say this guy's probably in line. Or, if you want to be fair, and give a chance to the guys who are actually there, who are contenders, who have been fighting, then it probably should be Volkan Oezdemir versus Alexander Gustafsson for the #1 contender spot. Whoever wins that should get a title shot. Excellent fight. Now we're going to move on to, and for Jimmy Manuwa, it's a real shame. It's back to the drawing board now. I mean, there isn't many other guys that can beat him. He's not going to fight Gustafsson. They're good friends. I've already said that in the past. I mean, yeah, it's interesting. If a great fight, in fact, would be DC versus Jimmy Manuwa. I'd say that would be a great fight to put on. Whoever wins that could directly jump back and fight for the title, or even fight the winner of Oezdemir versus Gustafsson. So there's options there still for Manuwa, and obviously there's this boxing bout. I don't think this knockout loss drops Manuwa's stock that much. I really don't. He could still go and fight David Haye, and there's obviously the DC fight is out there for him. So yeah, it's all good. Moving on now to another excellent fight that was on the card between the legendary Robbie Lawler and the legendary Donald the Cowboy Cerrone. What an excellent match at welterweight for these two men. Robbie Lawler's been on a year layoff since he was knocked out by Tyron Woodley early last year, and Donald Cerrone is obviously his last fight. He was defeated by Jorge Masvidal. So it was an excellent match for both guys. Both guys' stock is extremely high, in my opinion. These two guys, whether they win or lose in any match they have, their stock does not move. It just stays the same because they are guys that everybody wants to watch fight. And in this fight, the first round, Robbie Lawler came out guns blazing. He came out vicious, ruthlessly pushing the pace, showing tenacity of the highest caliber. And he took that first round just from volume, outpacing Donald Cerrone, just being busier. The second round, however, Cerrone came back and really leveled things with his variety of strikes, mixing up the punches and kicks, and faking takedowns, and coming up with uppercuts and high kicks, which he done beautifully. He took that second round very convincingly. So it was interesting because Robbie dominated the first round, and then Cerrone dominated the second round. Because if you look at the stats, Lawler literally landed about 6 to 10 strikes in the whole second round, and it was literally round two was Cerrone's round. So going into the third, it was pretty much 1-1, and both guys were coming out in the third round knowing they need to win, knowing they need to do more than the other guy, and I just think Lawler was just a little bit more accurate and busier in the pocket when they were in those situations. Cowboy was focusing too much on moving around. He was landing significant strikes as well, constantly. I just think Robbie was a little bit more tenacious, a little bit more busier, and just expending more energy, a higher level of expression in the end of the third round there. And I just think in the judges' eyes, it looked like he was doing just that little bit more, and he was more intent, moving forward, pushing the pace. And I think that's what got him the win. However, that was an excellent bout. Both guys put everything on the line. Like, just excellent high-level stuff from both guys. Heart, just determination, just everything put on the table there. And in the end, Robbie Lawler giving a great tribute to his longtime friend, training partner, former teacher, Matt Hughes, who right now is in hospital. Great respect for Robbie Lawler, as he's got respect for the guys who taught him and brought him up. So, I mean, couldn't say any more good things about these two guys. Donald Cerrone, he's obviously going to keep his chin up. He's a warrior, jumps in there every other week and competes at the highest level. Both of them should just rest up, come back. They've got big things in front of them. Robbie Lawler could literally fight for the belt, in my eyes. There's no reason why he couldn't contend for the belt, and he would give Tyron Woodley a much better fight than Demian Maia did. Now, moving on to the Chris Cyborg versus Tonya Evinger fight. Now, we didn't know much about Tonya Evinger, the bantamweight champion in Invicta FC for ladies, and Cyborg, obviously the lineal contender champion, pound for pound #1 in female MMA. I mean, whatever you want to call her. She's consistently been at the top of the game for the past 12 years, beating whoever is in front of her, no matter what organization she fights for, in any corner of the world. She's just been slaying ladies left, right, and centre. I mean, there's a real shame on her because the whole time when they were hyping up Ronda Rousey when she was knocking out bums like Betch Coher, I mean, people like Cyborg really should have been given the praise, and she already should have been in the UFC. She already should have been given the praise, and that's why I want to give a thumbs up, like to a shout out to Scott Coker, who really is that innovator and that guy who forward thinks in MMA, as he was the first guy to give ladies a chance in Strikeforce, and that's where they discovered Cyborg. Like in the US market, they got a chance to see Cyborg when she fought. I can't remember the lady's name right now, but she beat her, and then from there, Scott Coker he opened the bantamweight division, and then gave Ronda Rousey a chance, and then gave her the limelight. So Scott Coker is really the guy who you need to praise for letting women actually compete in the mainstream of MMA. Obviously, Cyborg was already doing it all over the world before then. So now, yeah, this fight was excellent. Tonya Evinger extremely talented, extremely tough. She's a durable lady. Do not think that she was some sort of soft touch. I mean, she was fighting Cyborg, for God's sake. Cyborg was constantly attacking her, constantly pushing the pace, countering, pull crosses, pull counters, I beg your pardon. Anytime they get close to the fence, Cyborg would pin Evinger against the fence and just land strikes, knees, elbows, and then in the third round, it was just getting to the point where Evinger was just, unfortunately, she wasn't able to keep up with Cyborg, and Cyborg just took her to a deep, deep, deep point of the ocean where Evinger, all she could do was sink, and she just sank, and Cyborg, rightfully so, long time coming, in my eyes, the inaugural ladies featherweight champion of the UFC, and can I just say that was a huge, monumental moment for ladies MMA, because this is a true pound for pound best in the world now, finally getting her rightful praise and respect that she's always deserved from day one. So big up Cyborg. And I'm aware that they actually done an inaugural UFC ladies female featherweight title bout between Germaine de Randamie and Holly Holm. However, I don't count that because she got stripped of the belt. Blah blah blah. Long story short, they were very disrespectful there, I feel, towards de Randamie, and and all she wanted to do was actually fight Cyborg in Rotterdam. But hey, who am I to say? Cyborg now has the belt, so I'm just going to say this is the inaugural. This is the first ever UFC legit featherweight champion. And if they want Holly Holm to fight Cyborg, I reckon Holly Holm will get sparked out from Cyborg. Just saying. I think Holly Holm just gets given so many chances. She deserves it, however, at the same time though, someone like Cyborg is just going to take her out. All praise to Cyborg. Hope they build it up now. I really hope the UFC start to market Cyborg and really take advantage of the sort of athlete she is and what she brings to the table, because she has fans all over the world. People who have been into MMA for a long time all know and all respect Cyborg. So thank you, UFC, for finally doing what you're supposed to be doing. Now, the welterweight championship bout between Tyron Woodley and Damien Maia. Now, Damien Maia has been on a 7-fight win streak, beating the who's who in the welterweight division, taking out the likes of Carlos Condit. I mean, taking out the likes of Rick Story, also just beating guys that he wasn't really supposed to beat, using his grappling. I mean, I know everybody's on his case now, like, oh yeah, he's a grappler, he's phenomenal at that level of jiu-jitsu. However, before, people weren't really praising him. People were sort of saying he's a boring fighter because he wasn't able to mix up his strikes and wrestling as much and make his jiu-jitsu more effective. So yeah, I mean, since he moved to welterweight, he only really lost to Jake Shields by split decision. He lost to Rory McDonald. Even in that fight, though, Maia was quite dominant in the first round, able to get on top of Rory. However, Rory was able to stay composed, stay relaxed, stay in the moment, and he came out in the second round pretending the fight was beginning again, and just took control and absolutely dominated the bout. But since then, I mean, he fought Yakovlev, he beat him. Ryan LaFleur, who's a jiu-jitsu black belt, dominated him. Neil Magny, Damien Maia received a performance of the night bonus. He beat Gunnar Nelson by unanimous decision. Matt Brown submitted him, rear naked choke. He submitted Carlos Condit. He beat Jorge Masvidal by decision. In that fight, though, he was able to completely dominate Masvidal with his grappling. So up to this point, I mean, Maia had done some serious damage in the welterweight division, and he is a force to be reckoned with. His jiu-jitsu, everybody is scared of his jiu-jitsu now, and everybody is aware of what he can do and what he will do, and there's no surprises with Damien Maia. You know what he's going to do. He's going to come in, he's going to wrestle you to the ground, and he's going to choke you out. That's what he wants to do. Get you down, and he's going to slowly move up your body like a snake and get around your neck and just choke you out. That's what he wants to do, and that's what he has been doing in all of his fights. Tyron Woodley, the welterweight champion of the world, on a huge win streak of himself. Fought after his loss to Rory McDonald as well. I mean, he's taken out Josh Koscheck since coming to the UFC. He lost to Jake Shields. He beat Carlos Condit, TKO, knee injury. Dong Hyun King, he knocked him out. He beat Kelvin Gastelum. He knocked out Robbie Lawler to win the belt. And then he had 2 matches with Stephen Thompson, where in my opinion he won both fights quite convincingly. Yeah, people criticised him for his performances, but I feel that he had to play that kind of game plan to be able to beat a guy like that and not allow Stephen Thompson to play his game, his point fighting karate style game, where he's in and out and he's in and out. I mean, he's so fast. Why would Tyron Woodley want to just stand there and be a punching bag for a guy like that? So all praise to Tyron. And it was the same sort of situation in this fight against Demian Maia, as Maia was shooting down the whole fight, literally 24 takedown attempts, and Tyron Woodley defended all 24. It's just literally Demian Maia had to have a plan B, and he never had a plan B. He never had a plan B. Tyron Woodley showcasing his boxing skills as he's been learning from the Wildcard Gym, Freddie Roach's club in LA. He's been working on his boxing, as every time Demian Maia would get too close into that pocket, Woodley had an excellent pull counter where he'd step back and land beautiful crosses. In the very beginning of the fight, the very first shoot that Demian Maia did, Tyron Woodley timed a beautiful uppercut and completely closed Demian Maia's eye. And from that point onwards, that was all that was going to happen. Woodley dominated the fight, getting a lot of criticism for his game plan, but I just don't understand. Why is Demian Maia not given any criticism? Because all he was doing was shooting for Tyron's legs. That's literally all he was doing all the way through the bout. So why is Woodley the guy who's being criticised? I just don't get it. He's showing you how well he can actually follow a game plan, how mentally focused he actually is, how well and how unlikely it is for anybody to come in and shake him off his game and make him do something else. He really is showing how great a champion he is and how phenomenal takedown defense he has. And I'm going to put that partly down to training with the likes of the Funk Roll master. I can't remember his name right now, which is quite annoying. I'll just type in quickly and get it. Funk Roll. He does the Funk Roll. What's his name again? Ben Askren, sorry. I can't believe I forgot Ben Askren's name there. But yeah, I'll put that down to training with Ben Askren. I mean, a really high level grappler. Worked with Woodley extensively for this camp. I think they worked together quite a lot anyway. Excellent work. And also, you cannot not mention Dean Thomas. And Dean Thomas is very aware of the current scene of Jiu-Jitsu and what works and what people are doing and how they enter for the takedowns and how they close the distance leading up to when they shoot. So he would have helped Tyron a lot, understanding how Maia is going to bring a jiu-jitsu approach to taking Woodley down. Great performance for Woodley. He could get some super fights here. I mean, he really should be getting a GSP fight. For some reason, Dana White doesn't like him, doesn't want to give him the fight. I mean, let's see. He could fight against Lawler. He could easily fight against GSP, a super fight. Nick Diaz wants to come back. That would be a great fight. There's so many fights for him out there. Demian Maia, I'd say, no disrespect to Demian Maia, I'd say he really needs to mix up his game a bit better, like he was doing in previous fights. He was mixing up the strikes a little bit better and then taking people down. I mean, now this fight, it literally just seemed like he had a plan A and that was it. But yeah, other than that, Yeah, so that was the last cup fight of the main card. An excellent card we had in general. And just to conclude here, what a great display of heart and determination from every fighter. Just excellent work, excellent all round ability shown. And I just want to say, people who are hating on people like Daniel Cormier for losing to a guy like John Jones, who's the pound for pound greatest, you truly don't have a clue what you're talking about, and you have no respect for these martial artists and these athletes that are competing at this level. I mean, DC is a great role model, a great human being, a great champion, a great fighter, and still could compete at the highest level, and people will still watch him. He'll still get paid lots of money. This doesn't affect his stock in any way. So, all you people who who like to hate on people like that, just quite frankly, you can hate that because you've probably never been in a fight in your life. You don't know what it's like to step into the cage, be in there in a battle where it's a heated battle and it's very even, and you don't know if you're going to win, but you have to just keep pushing till the end. You don't know what it's like. Um, but yeah, other than that, excellent card, phenomenal. And that's all for me right now. This is SK Twinz TV, and that was a recap of the UFC event from the weekend. UFC 214 in Anaheim, California. And what an excellent card it was. And that's all from me right now. I'm Cami. We'll be back with another recap of a UFC event really soon.